filming?
Yeah, filming. It'd be weird if it was just there and we
Yeah,
weren't,
no, that'd be
right?
cool. I'd be like, have you ever done an
Just
interview with
for my
Angela? She just sets up like, all these cameras.
Yeah, it could be an
She
experiment,
never
right?
releases them either. It's just for her.
Well, when I get like super rich and famous,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It'll be
yeah.
like exclusive.
I think some people do interviews just to talk to people, and
Really?
I've seen some suspect interviews.
Well, they just
Yeah.
started doing like a pretty the press.
I was gonna
papers we
say
got
this
were
year.
Very detailed.
Were they?
Yeah, it's like you just got to prove yourself. Like, I guess these days, that's how you do it. It's like, how many Facebook followers do you have? How many Instagram followers do you have? How many Twitter followers do you have? Like, how many articles have you written?
Well, Kevin does. He is open to anyone who's a new journalist. That's his big
Yeah,
thing.
that's
Like
funny.
he'll have like nobody.
Yeah.
And so then once you see that,
It was
sometimes
nice when I first started this in 2009 and I got approved the first year.
exactly.
And the blog was only around for like 2 or 3 months. And
Yeah.
He's really good like that.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the most. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really cool, and it's still cool. It's been 9 years, and it's still like, am I
Yeah.
really still here?
Yeah.
But I feel like old now. Like I'm approaching 30, and I feel like there's
Yeah,
a little
but
bit of
you're
a
old now.
divide
If
happening.
you
Yeah,
need me to say it, and I know you've heard it. 30s are way better than your 20s.
that's what I've heard. I'm like really
So
looking
better.
forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's when you start to figure things out, right?
Yeah. Well, people
And
in
I'm
their
hoping.
20s
Yeah.
want to look around every single corner.
Yeah.
People in their 30s know what's around every corner.
I just
You know
one
what I
more
mean?
year. Yeah, I'm hoping because I'm very much like I'm very aware of everything, and I'm not really so much about like what people think, but like
Sure.
but like I hope I'm making the right decision here, or
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
and also nights, social nights, like going out, like we're gonna go do this, we're gonna do this,
Yeah.
we're gonna do this. You can go into your back catalog and be like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, and that's okay. Yeah.
Anyway, Yeah.
So as I was saying, like we had talked back in 2011, and one of the things you had said, and I really liked this, so I'm going to quote it directly. You had said, "People who like our band are those people who aren't just shopping in the big shopping centers of music, and they actually want to find something that is quality."
yeah, I'm gonna bring that
You're like,
back.
that was a great quote. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm gonna bring that one back. Do you want to
Yeah.
know my new one?
Okay.
My new one. Okay, can you say it again?
Yeah,
I just
okay,
wanna remember it. I'll take a picture of it after.
Okay.
These days, I've been saying that everyone is like, if we're all in the industry of food, a lot of bands these days are selling candy bars. And There's
Okay.
a lot of sugar in them, and they taste really good. You just nom, 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 because everybody likes sugar and everybody. But some of us, we like spicy food, and like our like the first time you eat our music, you're probably not going to like it, and it might be too much for you. But eventually, you become a spicy food person, and spicy food people are for life. And sugar sometimes is dated.
That's true. Sometimes people go off sugar.
Yeah. So,
But don't eat our music.
but don't eat our music.
So
And I like my older quote better.
do you like? Are you like sitting down, coming up with these quotes?
I know.
Or?
You know what I think it derives from is I'm dyslexic, so I think I have a lot of analogies. I think that's what people have started
sort
to
of makes
slander
sense.
me. I'm like, well, I have a pretty good vocabulary, but for some reason I just do descriptions. I'm a lot like my mother.
sense.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure she'd be flattered to hear that.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So do you feel like that was back in 2011, so since then, do you feel like the landscape of the industry has continued to change? I'm sure, right? But like, how have you guys been combating that in your own way?
Yeah, it definitely has changed. I mean, we signed kind of late in our career in 2007 to a bigger label. But yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of changes since then. But I think just with all the work we've done from the beginning on our own, to kind of, with starting a record label to put out the band and other bands, it's really helped us adapt to all the changes and stuff like that. Like Kickstarter was a huge tool that we used to put out the last record, a double record, and
Totally. I mean,
recording it,
crowdfunding
pressing it,
is
yeah.
is a
It's a
huge
big
deal.
part of it.
Yeah, it saved our ass because
Yeah.
we wouldn't have been able to do
Really?
it otherwise,
We asked for 15 and got like 49,000.
Yeah, and it's expensive stuff, recording it and
Vinyl.
pressing it, making vinyl and putting it out, and and all that stuff. So, I think we've handled the downfall of the big music industry pretty
Way to
well.
put it, yeah.
We were kind of never in that dance
Right.
to begin with. It was nice for a while, but
Yeah.
it's
Well, another thing is like we're celebrating. He's not getting rained on. Is he?
The camera?
Yeah.
Do you want to name it? No, it's
Freckles.
fine. The camera itself is okay. It's just
Okay,
that one
cool.
leg, yeah.
So what I was just gonna say is we're known for DIY-ness. People celebrate us for do it yourself. just don't depend on other people to do the work for you. And sometimes we think it's like nice that people say that about us, but it's like, my God, how lazy is the general public that they don't do a lot of work for their own band or business, as they say these days. So, the fact that back in the day we used to just go to Kinko's and make flyers and go up every day and put them up and all that stuff. Now that the World Wide Web, the internet exists, we've been able to stay relevant because, we love that DIY-ness. You can flyer online, do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So for people who like to do DIY stuff, the internet and this whole thing is actually been really fun for us. But the only difference is, I would say, is people these days definitely want to write songs that people like. Like, is this how you write a 1-4-5? They find there really is, every musician knows there really is a chemistry set of chords that people like. And people are just doing those, and it's working. We all grew up on bands that, like I was kind of saying with the food analogy, that like when I first listened to Metallica, when I first listened to Pixies, Nirvana, I wasn't sure. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm not sure about this. So Biggie's always wanted to write songs that people might not like. You know what I mean? We have the power to make a really sugary, great song that everyone might like, but we kind of are from the old school, so so even though we're getting on board with the new way of doing social media, I don't think we'll ever get on board with the new way of trying to put out a song to get into an AT&T commercial.
Well, I really appreciate the whole DIY aspect of it too, because I'm also a publicist. I own a PR company working with like emerging bands, and I'm gonna tell you, like, it's so hard getting bands to understand that they have to care about their career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're always like, you can't just like pay somebody off and then stop working, or
especially when you get on a label. Especially
right,
when you
I
get
don't
on
think
a
they
label.
understand that. I think they think the work ends, then they don't realize that like that's really kind of when it begins, and they still have to put in effort. So I really appreciate that, because I do think there's a sort of entitlement attitude that's
Well, it's
happening.
almost like let's say you're a single parent, right? And somebody says that they'll take care of your kid for free, and you never check up on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like,
right.
Shouldn't you kind of like check up on this?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I think we definitely learned that nobody's going to work harder for us than us. That's
basic.
That's a rule for everything.
Seems like it should be basic, right?
Yeah.
And you can find out the hard way that that's the case, or you can be proactive and make sure that it doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
And I think that's what makes the snotty musician. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The snotty musician comes from someone being like, well, what the hell? Well, what the hell? Why weren't you on that? It's like, why weren't you on that?
Yeah, or just like, kind of like, I hate the word dissing, but I can't think of the other word, like other bands being like, well, that band's no good, why are they on the radio? It's like, well, probably because they worked hard.
Well, I call that when bands in the same style don't like each other, I call that dogs barking at dogs and chipmunks chirping at chipmunks. Like, the only way you're really going to take down the big music industry, you know what I mean, meaning be noticed, get through that wall of capitalism, is if you do it together. You have to do it together. Like the metal scene, like grunge, like the ska scene did that one time. Or if you go way back, like the genres have to do it together. You have to be friends. And I look at it as like a superhero team. Wolverine does this, Storm does that. We're all different, but we're all X-Men. So like, I think gossiping about bands in your own genre just showcases a little bit insecurity in your own band.
Yeah, well, we need that sense of community for sure in general. It's definitely lacking. I would say.
You don't have to. They can do it differently than you, and that's okay.
Yeah, in fact, it's probably beneficial. Like, it's probably going to benefit you down the line. Yeah, all super, super important. I think one thing that's really important. You got me like paranoid about this now.
Sorry, I keep looking at it. All right, go.
Okay. It's definitely safe now.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for bands that are still getting their footing to hear stories about artists that have like gone through tough times, or like you always hear about the artists that like we played this show and there was 10 people, or we massively failed with this record or whatever. So do you guys have a story that you could share of like where that happened, but instead of throwing your hands up, it kind of pushed you to be like, okay, that was a learning experience, and here's how we can do it better?
I think I got one real quick. So we were on Side One Dummy, and we put out Strictly Root. Side One Dummy is like the Warped Tour label.
Right.
Where they went.
Yeah.
And then we put out another record called Fluid and Stroll, which is like astronomically different. And people got really upset at first, like, and all the punk newsy things were all like, 1 star, how could you, right? But then it's kind of like our BC Boys Paul's Boutique, where a year later everyone's like, that is such a good record. And you're like, well, I know. But the label lost confidence with us. So our budget and the music industry, because they lost a lot of money, I don't know, whatever, right? Whatever about losing money, right? And so they didn't give us any budget other than like enough to like make the record for the next record, Damn Dumb Delirious. But so what are we gonna do? But this is about being a good person. Every person you ever worked with, we're genuine people. So we said, guys, we can't pay you to do the record. Engineers who have families, engineers who have kids, you know, and everyone did our record for free. Like, so we did like a 20 to 30 grand record for zero money. And that's a really good example of picking yourself up and not going, well, this is the only money that the record label gave us, so guess that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
We were like, hell no. You know
Well,
what I
it
mean?
ties right back into the DIY and community and
Yeah, make it work.
yeah. I mean, if you hadn't spent that time investing in those relationships, right?
No human can tell you no.
Yeah, you know, because I mean, if you don't think on your own and come up with a new plan,
Yeah.
then what are you gonna do? You're gonna break up? Like,
Yeah.
What if they tell you we'll only help you this much? Well, that's not enough.
Right.
So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know.
Your girlfriend's stuck in a burning building, and everybody on the ground is like, sorry, can't get her. You're not gonna not try.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, sorry.
It's funny because people don't think of it. Well, I guess that's what sets bands apart, right? It's like if you're thinking of it as like a do or die situation.
Well,
or,
if that's your career, hopefully,
right.
then you better take care of it. You know?
Yeah.
And I say there's people who want to be in a band, and musicians. People who want to be in a band can make the choice, like, all right, I'm done. It didn't work out. I'm going to do something else. Musicians don't have that choice. We're infected. We'll go into poverty over it. It's something that if we take music out of our lives, we just become, the doldrums happen, we become melancholy, and we die. You know what I mean? So we don't want to die.
So I guess it touches on this a little bit, but looking back, like what experience or experiences do you guys think, especially in the early days, helped shape your view of the business side of the industry? Because I think that's a part that, again, like a lot of emerging bands tend to neglect, is appreciating and looking at the business side of it as well.
Well, we had a lot of good models, like Ian Mackay from Fugazi, and Mike Park of Asian Man Records. So those were that's the difference. Like the younger people have more like, it's Pro Tools, you can do it, it doesn't matter, just put the hits out. And we had the guys that were like, you can do mail orders yourself, you can incorporate your business. Yeah, so we had really good people to look up to. But we also went to music school, and I did, I did a double major of engineering and business. So I know when they're trying to hose me. Yeah. You went to a better school.
Well, but I didn't. The school I went to didn't expose any musicians to like the business side of it. So Berkeley's so cool. Like you got to know that stuff, and like the stuff you're teaching. It's just. I mean, we, like you were saying, we could follow by example.
Yeah.
But nobody spelled it out for us.
Right.
Like you should have a publicist. You need a booking agent. You need those things before you need a label.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing
You
we
need
never
someone to
did.
get your shows, and you need somebody to get you out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Publicist was like the last thing. Back in the day, I learned.
Hurts my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, you need a publicist. You need a publicist first.
Yeah, I mean, and not to like go on my own tangent, but it is tough. I mean, it's a super difficult job. But beyond that, like, I feel like fans know certain things to budget for. Like, they know they have to have the budget for making the record, right?
Yeah.
But then they go, well, there's no money for a publicist, there's no money for tour, there's no money for merch, and it's like, but those things are all key, right?
Right. And then what they do is Boston has this problem, and then they think the songs were the problem, so they make a new record,
Yeah.
and then they do it again and again and again, and then they just are kind of, expelling their like music creativity. Like their best songs didn't get up,
Right.
so they're trying to like rewrite. What I'm saying is like they're blaming themselves,
Yeah, they're
and
looking at
that's
the
what
wrong
makes them
thing.
eventually quit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough landscape. It's a
Oh,
really,
it's
really tough
really
landscape
tough.
to navigate. Yeah. Do you guys consider yourselves successful at this point?
I've accomplished everything I set out to do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's gonna be a good feeling, right? Because I feel like a lot of artists are like, nah, never. You know what I mean? So
I've never thought of myself as someone in a band. I always think of myself as a kid who listens to music and they let me write the lyrics. Like I write songs.
That's fun.
I write songs with the band, but I mean like I still have never taken it seriously that I'm in a band. You know?
Yeah, I've had two experiences that were really like enlightening to me. The first one was, or one of them was, we get to travel a lot with the band, and we go to like the normal places like England, Europe, America, Canada. But we've gotten to go to China, to Japan, to Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines.
We spearheaded that.
And
Really?
just when we showed up in like the middle of nowhere in Indonesia, like a few years ago, and all these people were there, a good amount of people, and I was blown away that our music had reached that far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's pretty incredible.
And they were telling us how they get music, and it's just like this whole different world.
Yeah.
And that was really special to me that we could reach that far and have fans show up. We'd never been there before. And we just showed up, and there were people there.
It was like
Crazy.
heartbreakingly beautiful. Like they all had all these bootleg shirts that were like better than our shirts. And
Did you get some?
no, because it's theirs. You know?
Right.
Yeah,
They weren't selling them; they were wearing
they were
them.
just wearing them. Yeah, and yeah, just like you said. I mean, and that's like you're saying. I mean, our kind of poor. Sorry, I'm trying not to swear.
You can swear. It's
Oh,
fine.
poor asses couldn't get to these places on vacation because Daddy has a really good, business, and we would never be able to have as much culture as we have if we didn't be in this band. So, we know the globe so well, and we have more friends in Austria than Austin. And then when you see like local Americans giving their 2 cents about certain things that they have no idea what they're talking about, you're just like, oh lordy lord, like the whole like Muslim problem. It's like the most beautiful people in the world. It's like when you go to Southeast Asia and everyone's, what's it called? It's not hijab. I forget, but they have like Superman ones and
Really?
Batman ones, and it's just like and it's just there's so much beauty out. There's so much beauty out in the world that we were allowed to see because we were in a band.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The other thing I was going to mention is somebody who enjoys our music and our band expressing to me the importance of one of our songs to them in a manner that I could describe a song that I heard when I was like 13 and totally changed my life. And, you know what I mean? With like the same kind of language. So, I mean, when I stop to kind of think about those things, I'm one of the luckiest guys. I'm definitely successful at what I set out to do.
I have to just help my friend.
Yeah, I was gonna
Sorry.
wrap it
My
up
friend-
anyway. I was gonna say like
I got
know
it.
you guys
I just
have
had to help
lots
him.
too. Yeah.
No. But like, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
Talking about how lucky you guys are, which pretty incredible. I mean, I imagine it's afforded you quite a lot of opportunities.
Well,
Yeah.
the reason I got into it was when I was kind of in high school, and it snows a lot in New England. Nobody really likes high school that much, and I have to get up early and shovel and go in my bad Honda Accord, which I was lucky to have, and drive to school. I was really sad and depressed, but I would always put in a copy cassette of Operation Ivy's Energy, and like a light switch, it would just immediately put me in a good mood. And I really valued that so much that I was like, I remember the day. I was like, that's what I'm gonna try and provide people. You know
That's
what I mean?
so clear. That clarity
yeah.
is like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not money; it's other things. You know what I mean?
It's the
Yeah,
things.
it's certainly not
The money is,
at first, certainly, yeah.
like everybody says, you can't measure your success by
Yeah,
money.
right.
It's not
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, you guys are like, I mean, certainly some of the happiest seeming people I run into, and I'm sure you have your days, but like the
Not
fact
really.
that you're still this energetic and into it and like excited about it every day, I mean, that really, and I have no doubt it's a credit to the people you are as well as the view you've chosen to have of the industry. And
We
music and
we
everything.
can't believe we're here, where some people can't believe they weren't here earlier.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And our predecessors had a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? Like,
We had good
bands
examples.
before us. We
Yeah.
had very good examples growing up. Yeah.
We got to meet all the local Boston hardcore, like Sam Blackchurch, lead singer Jet, was just so nice to me.
Oh.
I signed my autographs because almost in the way he signed mine, because he didn't just sign his name. He said thanks, drew a picture of their symbol, signed his name and
Yeah.
something else. And then when I was too scared, I was like, thanks, goodbye. He was like, no, stay. And I was like, oh, I'm allowed to stay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just model. Yeah.
Just the way you treat people,
We had
right?
good heroes.
Yeah. Well, I could talk to you guys all day, but I know you have other
Oh, yeah.
interviews. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
New record soon?
Yeah, new record soon.
2018.
Yeah. I think in the winter we'll probably get to recording, and then by spring or summer should be news about what's going to happen.
Somebody will be talking
Something,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there might be a new side project
Oh
happening.
yeah.
Which basically Big D had a couple songs that we put aside, so Ryan and I might do something fun.
That's awesome. All right, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.